Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations That Matter. And this is the African part, the African conversations that matter. In the aftermath of my journey to the Integral Conference, African Conference to Johannesburg, I got to know so many beautiful people. And one of them is my guest today, René de Beer. And she has a dream. She wants to keep purple alive, even if, as I heard just now, she has to go to the UK to live in the UK for several reasons. But even there, maybe there is a task to keep purple alive. So before we go into the topic, René, can you say a little bit about you? And then we go right away. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity, Heidi. For me, this is really wonderful. And like you said, in that short space of time when we were touring together and we had a conference, it was a different kind of bond that was built, and it really reminds me quite a lot about purple and that tribalism that you do get there, or a community that we formed out of it. And that will forever be a memory. Myself, coming from a financial background, I worked in a financial industry for quite some time. But after that, I became a consultant together with Dr. Rika Viljoen from Mandala Consulting. And we've been working together for many years, even in the financial industry. My, shall I call it forte, or my passion lies with the development of people, and especially the people that is first-line management. So yes, I do work with executive teams, but for me, it's there where people for the first time experience how to become a leader and standing in a leadership role. So I do quite a lot of the learning and development side of Mandala. I'm director at Metamore, which is our training division. And I've been there for quite some time, and I thoroughly enjoy the journey that I've had throughout Africa and with everything that we've experienced.
Yeah, wonderful. I remember this tour where you and Rika and Leon were accompanying us, and also, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. You showed us so many places and people who otherwise we probably would never have seen. I mean, if you come as a tourist, you go in the main places and they look at the poor people a little bit like, and you showed us the beauty, even the beauty of poverty, even if it
True.
If it sounds really strange, but
I hear exactly what you're saying. It is exactly that. Yes. And that's maybe where I want to start off the conversation, if you don't mind. Where I say that we need to preserve purple and why it is so important for me as an individual. I've had the opportunity, and we've been very fortunate, although my husband has worked abroad for 18 years now in different countries, but most of the work was in Africa. My heart beats for Africa. I'm a girl of Africa. The soles of my feet belong here. And I will never forget the day on our tour when we went to the Sangomas. And I told her that we're in the process of immigrating. She actually shook her head and she said, no, my child, you can't go. Your heart belongs to Africa. And that is how I feel. Deep within my heart is that this is where the passion is, and the passion is for the people and the way that they think and the way that they look after each other and the absolute authenticity that they have. They are so authentic. It's a connection with the heart, not with the mind. And that's the first thing that I want people to understand. You can go into a corporate environment and into a meeting and you immediately experience blue. And blue from a rigid perspective almost. This is our rules. This is the way that we do things. You have to do it this way. You have to come at a certain time and you have to be on time. Otherwise, it's disrespectful. But we sometimes lose the focus of where do the people come from? How do they get there? What is the implication on their lives? And that's where I want to say that the purple is disappearing. And it's not about race. I really want to say that. Because as much as you get it in the Black community, you get it in a white community, you get it in a color community, and you get it in the Indian. Doesn't matter who you are. Purple is thriving if there's care. That's the baseline of it. And one of the things that I realized when I was still in a corporate environment, you often hear a leader say, you can't come late for a meeting. And one day I challenged him and I said, more than 70% of our people that you are telling to come in time are coming from a rural area. For once, take a taxi with them. And then you can stand here and say, come in time. They have to wait until the taxi is full because otherwise it can't go. They drive under hideous circumstances. The taxi drivers very often don't take into consideration that it's people that are alive that's sitting in that taxi. They just have a goal in mind to get to a certain place. And once he's done that, he realized, you know what, I have no idea what this is about. So it's very easy if you sit in a comfortable place, in a comfortable car, and you drive to wherever you need to be. But put yourself in the shoes of the majority of people, regardless of color in this country, and you will realize they all have a similarity. They all have a need to get to their workplace, because that's what's the most important for them, is to make sure that they are exactly where they need to be.
That makes complete sense, because in our countries here, where the public transport more or less works, where almost everybody has a car, you can more likely to ask the being punctual. But even in Italy, people are not punctual, have never been. And there are also the traffic jams everywhere. So you already calculate that people come later. That can be a vice, but as I understand, in a country like yours, where you cannot trust that you have the means to go where you need to go, that needs to be considered. And I'm thinking about our propensity to always think it is like we are used to. We are ourselves the standard, and when we come from the Western world, we think it has to work like this and has to work like this.
And we think it's right.
Yeah,
because it's our perception of right. So what is the perception of other people that we don't really know? And if you go into a rural town, I worked on a mine, on a project of Anglo, which was in the Limpopo province, very much rural. And even there, things are challenged because we say to children coming out of high school and they got a grade 12, here's your opportunity, go to university. Heidi, out of the schools that I visited, and I did about 12 schools in the 1 week, high schools, only 2 of those schools had computers. Only 2 of the schools had 1 computer that worked. But we expect those children to come from school into university and be able to do assignments on computers. How cruel are we to force people to think the way that we think is right? Instead of saying to them, how can we assist you to become geared so that when you leave school, you are at the same level as your other peers? And that's the kind of thing for me that we don't take into consideration always.
Which I find a bit curious, because in the levels of development, blue is considered the first level which can step into the shoes of other people, but obviously they don't.
No.
Not in practice.
No. And the reason why I say that is, and it's easy if I do the mine as an example, because not only is it known to me, it's also where you have the majority of purple. So in South African mines, if you consider the whole of the country, more than 68% of our people are still purple. Now, they have established a blue society because it comes from a westernized background. And the management that came with it are sitting in blue offices somewhere in Sandton or wherever, and they're the ones telling the people on the mine to get the production. Very often, they are so disconnected, they don't really know what goes on that mine. They don't really know what it's like if you can't get your PPE to keep you safe, because stores don't have any stock, because it's too far out. It's all of those kind of challenges that we sometimes lose in a corporate blue world. And we assume that people will know what to do. We assume that people know exactly what is the right thing to do.
And you know what comes to my mind? That's exactly the thing which the Northern Europeans or the Europeans altogether think when the refugees come. They think the refugees should know how to behave. And they don't even tell them. I mean, they don't.
There's no preparing, there's no telling. It's just what you should know. And you know what is the most amazing thing? And I can tell you so many stories that I lived through. We had a mine that we did the benchmark of engagement, Dr. Rika's tool for culture in organizations. And it is a phenomenal tool because it really does do it very accurately. But I used Lorraine Laubscher. You can remember Dr. Lorraine Laubscher. She has a presence that surrounds, and I'm sure you could also feel it, even when you met her, like at Da Vinci.
Oh, I did. We met her, and I already did a conversation with her too, and it will be public too. That she is
fantastic. She is phenomenal. So I took her along because that specific was people coming out of purple, going into red at this specific mine. And that often happens, in my opinion, and this is purely my opinion, where they are not heard. You know, when they feel that they don't have a voice and leadership don't listen, they go into red to say, but damn it, take cognizance of the things that we say and don't just assume that we need to do what we need to do. So I had Lorraine Laubscher, and she was giving feedback with me. So I was the one giving the feedback, but she was sitting next to me. And I remember that at one stage, she said to me, if I can just stop. And it was all the people sitting around the table and standing in the room. And I had what we call the story, which is a very brief summary of what the outcome of the survey is. And she said, do you think the people, she asked me, René, do you think the people understand exactly what you say? One of the leaders of that mine got up and he said, of course I understand. You can't work here unless you can speak and write Afrikaans and English. And you know, Lorraine has got that authority. And all she did is she stood up, she put her hand literally on the table like this, and she stood up and she said, yes, I hear. But in practice, can I ask you, what do you do when you go to church? And all the people in the room, because they are purple, said we go to church because we want to listen to the word of God. She said, that's correct. What does the pastor do at church? No, he reads out of the Bible. She says, correct. And then she said something very valuable. She said, and when he is finished, what does he do after that? Now he explains what he read. And she took the story that I was giving feedback. She said, that's my point. You can have something in front of you and don't know what it's about. It's all about the explanation. For purple, that is the core. Explain it and I will accept it. Don't explain it and I'm going to rebel against it. So it's easy as that. See my voice, hear my voice, see my needs, and I will do whatever you want me to do because I do want you to be happy with me. I do want you to think that I'm a good worker.
And that is so weird that we don't understand it, but we come from the mindset they are primitive and we have to tell them what they need to do, but only what, not explain, but just say, do you do this? And don't listen to them. Isn't that weird? In some way, it reminds me.
That is exactly what I want to say, because the assumption that we make that purple is primitive is so far-fetched, because you get the most beautiful, fantastic world leaders that are sitting in purple, that are more of an example than a blue person can ever be, that has got all the education in the world. We are so focused on paper that people can present to say, I've got this degree of, or I done that, or I did this sometime in my life. But can you do the work when you need to? And yes, that for me is where I say we need to preserve it. Because if we all think blue, then we don't get the production in the way that we need. Because they work together as a team to say, let's do this. They will go to their leader and say, we can do this together for you to please you. If you only hear what we say, that is what it's all about for me.
That's wonderful. And now the question is, what about orange and green? How do they respond to purple? And how do purple people, definitely, they gain, I mean, purple people who have the center of their heart at purple, let's say,
Yes,
they
yes,
definitely go to university and learn orange stuff and so on.
absolutely.
And then
Absolutely.
we go into green, and I'm wondering, what is the difference now between green and purple? Because green pretends to be communal and open the heart and things like that.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
Yes, I think what is important for us to just quickly reflect on a little bit longer is that when you connect with a purple person, you do it in a way that makes sense to them, because that's what it's about. So I can go into a room and I can say, and this is typically what would happen on a mine again or in any other corporate environment, where people say, listen, guys, we have a target. This is what our output needs to be. We should do this and we should do that, but not translating it into something that is relevant for person in purple. So what they say is, so what? That's the question. So what? Our reason of existence is we are there for our people, we are there for our community, we are there for our family, we are there for our surroundings and the people close to us. So what if you say we need to do this production? But if you go into that same meeting and you say, if you want to preserve this, and this is where my connection will come to green. If you want to preserve this work environment for your children and your grandchildren, it starts today, because you are the founders that will make it possible for your nageslag, for your people coming after you, your children and grandchildren, to also experience this, have an income, be able to provide for their families. That makes sense. So don't think that you can threaten a purple person by saying, we will close this mine. It's one of the big phrases that I often use. All they say is, so what? We go back to our family. We go back to our community. They will look after us. And that's why I say it's got nothing to do with intelligence. It's got nothing to do with race. I'm like that. I grew up in a very Afrikaans family. And I know that if today I were to phone my dad and say, I'm not coping, he will say, come, my child. As long as you're with your family, we will carry you. It's exactly the same in any color. Where green, for me, is almost saying we need to preserve this for future generations, but we don't explain, again, why we need to preserve it. So, and that's the disconnect between them. But the connection between purple and green, both of them wants everyone to have a good future. That's the good thing that are there between them. So green are the ones that are focused on the bigger picture, in my opinion, where purple is fixed on the immediate environment. The two of them, when they see eye to eye, and I know because at the time when I went into Ghana, I was green. And I connected very well with purple people for that reason, because where they would say, we need to make sure that our children can work on this mine, I would say, not only that, you can establish mines there and there and there where more people can work. You understand what I'm saying? So that for me is the connection between purple and green. I don't know if that answers your question on those two.
Yeah, it does. It does. So what I understand is that green in some way tries to recover the purple sense of community, if it gets it or not. It might even be falsified by orange and blue ideas. But at least they try, but they don't normally limit it to their own family and their own tribe, but to the whole world. So yeah, that makes sense.
And then when I look at purple together with orange, you often find that orange people, for various reasons, will reject purple. And when I say that, it is because orange think that they have business, calculated risks, all set out. And all that purple has to do is to do the work to achieve it. Purple say, no, 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 no. It's your business, yes, but we do the work. So get our voice and we can do it together. Tell us what to do in the way that you want us to do it. And you think you've got all the answers, and we won't achieve that. That's the disconnect.
That is the request for participation and being heard again. And normally we know that when you are at the place where things happen, you know much better what is going on than in the office.
It's absolutely. Make your feet dirty and come and visit us and come and see what it's about. Then we can help you to make a success, because we also want money. We also want to provide for our family. We also want to go forward in life. Absolutely, a purple person would feel. And an orange person would feel, I've got the business set out. Do what I tell you.
Yeah, and this is arrogance.
And that unfortunately does not work. But if you have an individualistic leader, which is a pure orange, he will consider the voices of purple, take their advice, and then make his business decision. And you can go and test it. And we tested it in many countries, many places. It will be a successful business because he will have the backing of his people. Because
it would be very wise not to be egocentric in the sense, orange egocentric, to think I know it best, but I get the information from everybody else. When we were talking before, I was thinking about blue education, let's say, which we all, at least in our countries, have had. And this is exactly, we were not heard. We were considered like defective adults as children, at least in our generation. Now they exaggerate it in the other way. But so this need to close down and to separate even, we couldn't create a community by that. Not really. Some people succeeded. In our family, it was not the case. And this need to sort of protest heavily and try to find their own way out, but even be limited by these blue ideas, you know.
And rigidness almost.
Rigidity. In Germans, we Germans are known for rigidity, you know. So for me, this journey is really an opening not only of the mind, also of the heart. And absolutely. I'm very, very, very grateful for that. So
yeah. And that's something that I want to share with you, and taking me back to my journey in Ghana. I remember when I first got there, it was the most wonderful experience and highlight in my life until today. And after so many years, it still exists. So there's still that bond. There's still that being part of that community in a way. But I remember that one of the very first things that we did there, myself and Dr. Rika did a leadership development program, and all the supervisors at the different mines had to go through it. And we do things quite scientifically. So we would do an EQI before the time and an EQI a couple of months afterwards to see that there's sustainability and emotional intelligence growth. And if I have to tell you that some of those people that I worked with then became such wonderful leaders, not because of René doing it, but René's heart opening it in such a way that they could understood. And I believe that is where the crux of the matter is, because people feel unauthentic people. They sense them a mile away. And once you have that, they will never accept you into their community. We don't understand sometimes how they do things. I remember distinctively this one time in Ghana, at one of the mine sites, we had the most wonderful lady that when myself or Dr. Rika went to the site, what they would do is they would stock the fridge with the things that we like. And our 2 rooms, we lived in like one little flatlet. Our 2 rooms, even the pillows were put the way that we like it. Because I got to know us over the years. And then one day I made a very huge mistake, and that is my journey to really understand what purple is about. And I know that it's about for the community and everything, but I really wanted to give because blue tell you give recognition to the person that do the work. And I did that in an open meeting. And I said to this, I actually named the girl. I said, thank you so much for always seeing that our stuff is right. And she walked out of the meeting in tears. And I ran behind her and I said to her, what did I do? You know, did I offend you? And she said, no, you didn't offend me, but you separated me from my team. It's not only me. It's me and my team. You will make that they don't ever accept me back in my circle. That was one of the biggest lessons that Purple taught me. You can never give recognition to a single person and think that it would be acceptable for them, because they never know. There's always someone else that do it with them. It was such a valuable lesson, you know, so I never made that same mistake, of course, but it also helped me to understand the heart of a person coming from a Purple perspective. And you see that in all schools. You know, you see a class leader that are Purple, and I remember the one rural town in Limpopo that I went to, and it was a little school. And the day that I went there, the head boy came and he welcomed me. And I said to him, can I thank you afterwards for showing me the school? And he said, no, you can't. I said, why not? He says, it's our school. Just that.
And this is a huge, big lesson for us, because I didn't know that. And we in our societies, we are so keen on having personal recognition, and we don't really care that the others, normally it's named the team, that's so a different idea of doing it. And that makes me again clear how it is important to know more about the people we are dealing with.
Interacting with, absolutely. And it is so fantastic once you get to not be like, we all have the colors in us. And some people, I think, in a way, have the ability to be it all at the same time. But it's so nice when you are with like-minded people. I think, although I test yellow, I think that I have a lot of purple in me because of the way that I perceive my family, the way that I care for them. And I think all of us have that kind of community around us. Once you realize how important it is to you, and it is as important to the next person that you're talking to, the more you understand their world. And that is literally starting to walk in their shoes and say, but although I understand that I'm coming from a westernized background and there's a lot of blue, we're not blue. The rules are different. And the minute that I can appreciate that, I can understand it. And the minute that you understand it, the connection is there and it remains, because they build lifetime relationships. They don't build a friendship just for a day or for a month or for, there's that saying, a reason, a season, and a lifetime. Purple build it for a lifetime. You become their person. That's where I want to be. I want to be where I can say, this person come with me for my whole life. Or that person taught me so much about it. That person showed me the appreciation of, I remember driving in Ghana with the training manager of one of the schools. And there was this child that had a palm tree leaf. And he was over it like this, like a little, a horse. And he was playing like that. And I said, out of my ignorance, I said, we must try and see if we can't bring them little horses to play with, the real toy. And he said, why would you? I said, why not? He says, does he look unhappy? No. But because I think it's better for them, doesn't mean it is. And sometimes we force people to think the way that we do, and we miss out on the beauty for exactly where they are. And that is where we need to preserve them, is to keep that in the society and in the world. We need purple to be able to have appreciation for each other.
And we in the Western world, we do our best to eliminate purple from children. and don't allow them anymore to believe in fairy tales, and then we come with our scientific knowledge, and things.
I think it's right.
Yeah, and we buy them all these tools, this playthings, instead of allowing them to invent.
Exactly. And we really have that thing that if they can't, the very first course that I gave, I took with a whole lot of glossy magazines. And I asked the supervisors, and I'm talking about people on very senior level that were there, to please make a vision board of their life for me with the pictures that they cut out of the magazines. They wouldn't cut the magazines. Because in Tarkwa, at the time, there was no glossy magazines. And the one guy was bold enough, and he stood up and he said, "Can I not please take this to my family to see?" Who are we to think we are better or we are more developed? If pure at heart is so beautiful, why do we want to lose it? This place, this earth, would be so much poorer if we don't preserve the people that are so beautiful around us.
And we have been very successful to eliminate it in our countries. Yeah. So my next question would be, if it is inevitable to grow up the spiral in some way, how would people develop a healthy red? I think you somehow already talked about that, instead of, going violent, as we have seen that.
Yeah, it's quite a difficult thing at the moment because of all the violence that's going on in our country, specific in South Africa. And it's really that thing that if people are not heard, they will do whatever they can to be heard. If we stop the corruption where it's now at, where people that should have had houses by now can't have houses because somewhere someone thought it's okay to take that money, there wouldn't be an unhealthy red because people would have been provided for. And if someone goes red, and it's a positive red, it's sacrificial, it is standing, it's like Mandela said, I need to do this for my people and I'm willing to die for it. That's the red that we want, where people say that for the good of our people, we will stand steadfast, but we don't want people to kill each other to obtain that. We want people to say, you heard us, you provided, and now we can grow higher and we can actually do more. High in the sense, not of in spiral, that's not what I mean, but in personal growth, where they can say, let's pay it forward almost. That's the ideal situation, is where you know that whatever the person said didn't go onto deaf ears. It's like planting a seed on a gravel road. It will never grow. That's the situation that we sit with, because the corruption is taking away the beauty that we could have now. And people often say, but is it still about color? I say no. It's about crime, people against crime, and people against corruption. Goes much further than the color of your skin. This is my taxi, but my heart most certainly isn't just white. That's for sure. And that is exactly the situation that we sit with, is that if we listen to each other and we build together, this can be the most beautiful country where one day I want to retire in. That's my dream, is to come back. I'm keeping my house hopeful that the government that we have will listen to what the people say. And for once, put their own desires and their own motives and their own agendas to one side and provide what they need to. There is taxes paid. There's high taxes paid. How come does it work in other countries like yours, or first world countries? And why isn't it working? It's all about not communication and not listening.
Yeah, I think this is specific for sure, but also I was thinking, I'm still bringing it back to the family. When children are not heard and not appreciated for what they are, they want attention. If they don't get the attention, at the end, it's better negative attention. And so they make tantrum and fight and whatever, then no attention at all. And I was rethinking all the right movement, populist movements, which are happening here and in America and everywhere, probably is also because they are not heard, because we are in a higher level of development. The leaders think everybody understands what it is. And then they have their own corruption circles, as we know, not only in Africa, but also here. And so people have to resort to negative attention and become violent.
It would be such a different world if people can say, can have a bit of purple in them, for one, because then that absolute care is there. If I think of all the colors of spiral specific, if I think of beige, to have that, I am dependent on someone else because together we can make it. Together with that, if we can be strong enough to say this is what we really need, with the flair of the blue to say, but we need to follow the rules. And we need to get to that point. Because that is when we are making strong individuals in orange, where they say, I'm individualistic, although I'm still part of a bigger unit. That's the only way that we will get to the green, where we say, let's preserve this. And for me, that taking into account, ending it on a spiral with yellow, where you really understand the complexities, but have an appreciation for all these people that are around you. Doesn't matter where they are. As long as you have an appreciation and a respect, it's possible. But people lose respect for leaders if they're not heard. And that is where this all started. How do you expect people to respect someone that tell them, I am paying you to do a job, I'm not paying you to think?
Yeah,
it's one of the phrases that we hear often in corporate environment.
Or the normal way of discussion, I'm right and you are wrong. No, that's why I'm so dedicated to find new ways of communicating, which is not a fight, it's not a dispute, but it's a co-creative thing. And probably you need quite a bit of emotional intelligence to not feel offended if somebody says maybe there is another perspective you could consider, because often people are so married with their own ideas. So that needs the personal growth. Hopefully we get there, and we can appreciate. I'm learning that now, I mean, getting into second tier, so many things which I before just judged negatively. Now I always see, maybe there is some sense, makes some sense in this. And it's so freeing.
It's not of value to me, it doesn't mean it's valueless.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the way why we should grow personally, because then we can learn that our own opinion is not the only one, and we still can have it, but we don't have to fight against the others. And that's even still in green, this is still the case, that in the first 6 levels, they are all fighting opinion fights or idea fights.
In green, if they don't grow that the way that they should, and they stay in the negative of green, for me, it's almost like saying, let's save the dolphins, but they don't care if the whales are slaughtered. What's the need, or what's the point of it? It's pointless. Rather than say, I don't care for anything, but don't care because you think your opinion matters so much, and because you think dolphins are more important than whales. No one else has got an opinion. And that's almost the kind of mindset that people have. I've seen it so many times, especially in corporate environments.
And I find it at the moment, and the whole society is here, the exaggeration of climate change consideration by leaving away every other important thing. It seems to be, there is something like, climate change is, we don't even exactly 100% know if we are causing it or if it's at least partly natural. This is one thing. You can't even utter this suspicion, because then you are cut away. It seems an ideology meant for getting people aroused, and in some way I always suspect as if that should be a deviation from other problems which are equally important.
Equally important, I agree with you.
But they shouldn't be seen, and so we put the politics puts now on top this one. So I'm not sure. I don't say that I know it, but sometimes I have the suspicion that these things are manipulation still of a first-tier mindset.
Exactly, it's a choice that I make to put the one above the other. And it's almost the same that we do in our society when it comes to preserving purple. It's almost to say we are more important because we have more education. Maybe purple has got far more education, but you don't take the time to find out. Yeah, and for me, it's really just the question that's in my mind is, if we do not appreciate purple now, how are we going to do it with my son's generation that's 22 now? Technology has taken over everything. Interaction between a mother and a son is almost impossible these days. You sit in a restaurant and people would be on their phones talking to each other. It is so screwed up. That's what I want to say. The only way to do it is to almost covert and say, but where's my people? Where's what makes me who I am? And that for me is a fundamental feeling that you have when you are in purple, is that you are grounded where you belong. And to be part of that belonging makes you that you want to give more, and then you learn together.
But we in the West have already mainly lost it. So that would be the purpose and the task of countries like Africa or the whole continent to keep that and make us understand that we are missing this, and that most of the problems we have created in this world comes of that, because we don't care anymore. We can say it globally. We don't care. And not even for the family, not even for ourselves in many ways,
You're right.
We are so almighty, and
you benchmark yourself against everything that the world perceives as perfect.
Yeah.
And anything other than that is not good enough.
Yeah.
And that is when you miss the beauty of what is, and the co-creation that you can make to preserve it for future generations in green. Where you say, let's co-create, let's coexist, let's do this together. It breaks my heart when I see how people almost ignore, if that's the right word, the voice of people coming from a purple perspective.
Exactly. And I'm so glad that I have got to know that, because I was like that. And I feel now a little bit, very little, to be able to spread the voice. But as far as we can, I really find it important that we recognize how important this purple mindset is, and nothing to
look down
on, And for me, it was a big insight. I don't know how I can convey it except talking with you and people who are really inside this and express it. You beautifully express it too. It's wonderful. This warmness and this, I call it also feminine way of talking about
nurturing.
Things.
Absolutely, it's nurturing way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. We need to almost cradle it like a baby, and nurture it.
Yeah.
Once it's gone, we will never find it back.
That's it. And it's what I find a little bit in the northern countries. That's sort of gone. Now it is negatively reintroduced by the refugees and the migrants who come from a purple background, but which to us seems strange. And as we say, we find them maybe even criminals because they don't respect our laws, which they don't even know.
It's very threatening in a way, isn't it? Perceived as a threat to your perfectness of your society, if I can call it that.
And we cannot discover the good sides which they can bring. I mean, some people do. There are some single people who are integrating and fighting for the recognition of immigrants and so on, and include them in their tribe, let's say, and that. But there are few people. And the main mindset is, oh, they are coming to steal our work. They are bringing in strange customs, which some of them are strange too. I agree that, to kill a Turkish girl because she wants to go out with a German boy, that's not acceptable. Yeah. So we have to differentiate what is the good part of a purple society and what are the parts which are not acceptable. Yeah.
Yes. Where's the learnings and how can we make it better for everyone? Instead of breaking the one down and think that it's worthless, but rather explore the good in it than turning a blind eye and say it's all bad.
Yeah, and then what you made very clear, find the right way to talk with them. Make them understand why the mutilation of female genitals is not good. Not just say you cannot do that, but find a way. I confess I wouldn't be very good in this. I'm still too much in this, my education that is relearning a new language in many ways,
In my mind, if I think of my future, my immediate future as René, as an individual, then for me it would be of the utmost importance, doesn't matter where I go, for people to understand how precious we can make each other understand the purple in every society, because it's there. In a church you find it, in a mosque you find it. Doesn't matter where you go. It's not about religion or race or anything like that. But what is that we need to bring back, to bring humanity back to where they're supposed to be, where caring is part of daily living, and not only someone else need to do it. Because that's almost, it's almost turning your back. No, someone else will sort it out. It's us that must sort it out. It's up to us to make a success of whatever this world is becoming. And if we don't act on it now, and we don't set the example, generations behind us are not going to know what to do, because they don't even know that it exists in the first place. They paused it. And that is bringing it back to where the fundamentals of purple is founded, in that belief system, which I think is very important.
So it is that we ourselves need to come through this insight and to personally take it on and hope to inspire others to, so really from the ground up, instead of asking, you have to do blah, blah, blah. It's a long, hopefully we're in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you plan your life in UK in a civilized world? I don't know how much civilized it is now.
You know what is for me one of the things that are absolutely fantastic is that a couple of years ago, 2011, 2012 and the beginning of 2013, we stayed in Trinidad and Tobago as a family in the Caribbean. And my husband worked in South America. I worked in Ghana at the time for Mandala and in South Africa. And Gerard, our son, was on the island in a school there. And there I realized that it doesn't matter where in the world you are. As long as you have a passion for what you do, you create a world for yourself. So when I go over, I think that is one of the advantages of myself and Rika working together for so long. We know each other so well. And it's all about being responsive. If there's a question, to answer it. And we did it together and we had huge, huge success because we created a virtual relationship where whether I sit in England or if I'm in Timbuktu or in Trinidad, doesn't matter. You can still do what you're supposed to do because the world becomes so small. It is, we sometimes think of it as being big, but it's just a call away. Here you sit on the other side of the world and I'm sitting here in dark Africa, which is absolutely where I want to be. And there's a relationship already. It's not impossible. So when I go to the UK, that would be my mindset. There will be opportunities, and I believe that opportunities create opportunities. And if I can be a purple voice or be a voice for purple people, that would be wonderful. But also for them to understand the insight of the whole of the spiral of the integral and how much we can do to actually make this world a better place.
That's beautiful. And I just came to understand, as it is Brexit and everything around. And when I talked with Heather McDowell, she made me understand how much purple people are dedicated to their chief. And even when we say, how can't they see that it is not working out, not even for them, how much they are loyal.
Absolutely.
To their leaders. And that makes us understand why things like that happen. But she really clearly said Trump is corrupting the purple part of the population, because they just have to be loyal. And that's what they are. And they cannot be convinced by all the sorts of strange things he is doing that they shouldn't vote for him. So
purple will follow, because that's what they do. Yeah. They will be loyal because that's what they do. Doesn't matter whether it's a good or a bad leader. If it's their leader, that's who they will stick with.
And that's what we need to understand and create good leaders.
Absolutely.
So they would get all the support of these people. And there are many, as you said. Yeah.
And you know, if there's a way that I can just relay that, and a way where I found a good space was to make purple people understand it's not always good to keep loyalty. It was with one of the, say for instance, you have a leader in your mine, and he's not really looking after the people, but they will follow him because he's been put in place there, and they will honor him. But then you understand that all of a sudden there's a bit of bribery, and there's a bit of this, and there's a bit of that, which to purple means totally different to what it does for purple, for people from a blue perspective. I don't even compare the two. And that is a whole different conversation for another day. But what is important to understand is that if you say to someone, don't follow the leader, they won't listen. But if you say, that leader is taking away the food from your children's table, the same thing that you say makes more sense. That is where we need to be. That's the connection, is to make people understand. And I know, I look at my dad, he's 75. He is only a beautiful purple at this stage in his life, because that is where his fundamentals are. He worked on the mine for 47 years. He's got such a passion for that people. It's his people. People on the mine is his people. Doesn't matter what mine it is. That community is so big. There was good leaders over the years. There were leaders that were not so great. But unless we make people understand, why do we not follow the people that are hurting our children? They won't leave. But if you make them understand that, they will consider it. Maybe not act on it immediately, but they will consider it when there's another election coming up. Is this really the person that I want my children to follow? Because that's the implication of it. Yeah, so that's just a thought that came to my mind now when we were talking.
Yeah, you know, what you're saying is we need to make it personal. And when we are, how do you say, truthful? No, I don't the word now, but actually all we others do that too. We all do our decisions by emotion. We think we do it by calculation, and sometimes we do it only by calculation, and normally these decisions go totally wrong. So when we recognize that even us who are not in purple anymore, we we decide on the gut level or on the heart level, even if we don't know it. So that could help us to understand why we need to talk differently with the people we think they are harmed by what is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with you.
Oh, it's wonderful, René. We have talked almost an hour.
Really?
But let's talk about some other topics too in the future. And
Anytime.
I hope it will go all well in your. And then you are nearer here. You can take a Ryanair flight, come down.
That is what's so wonderful, and that's exactly what I want to do. I said to my husband, I said, you know, to be able to go to the Netherlands and to be able to go and see you, that's the kind of thing that I want to do, and learn more about the culture of where you are, because I've got a perspective from an Africa voice, but there's so much else that I haven't heard. And it's a beautiful melody if we do it together.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Heidi.
Yeah, I thank you very, very much too. And can you share your website address, or how people can reach you when they are interested to get in touch with you?
Yes, it will be on Mandala's website, www.mandalaconsulting.co.za.
Okay. I thought you had an extra website yourself too?
No, I fall directly under, and from there they will get Metal, which is just a division from Mandala.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much, and see you soon. And happy, how do you say move? Transloco in Italian.
Thank you so much for sharing with me. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, bye.